Thank you, Mr Chairman. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I want to begin by paying tribute to the Honourable Member for Carshalton and Wallington for his excellent opening remarks and his tightrope walk through what is an incredibly difficult issue. I think he did an absolutely outstanding job. It was a wet and windy winter evening. Around about 2013, I made my way across to Edinburgh for a consultation that was being run by the Equalities Network in Scotland, and it was on the choice of campaign activity following the successful equal marriage campaign. I was the only politician that turned up. It was myself and a room full of trans men and women, and we had a really fantastic discussion and debate about how important it was to improve visibility and acceptance and inclusion, and I gave that process my full support on that evening. Indeed, I've been campaigning for LGBT rights all my adult life. I have lived my life professionally, but in the open. I was out at work before it was trendy, and I have faced down prejudice in the workplace with the usual tropes of, I remember one particularly challenging story where somebody referred to a paedophile who was being sentenced on the television as, well, it's just the same as you. So that involved quite a lengthy conversation, but it was basically about consent's kind of an important difference, distinct about many other issues. So I've dealt with all of these tropes. I've faced up to them. I've marched against Section 28. I marched and even performed one year at Pride. However, since 2019, I mistakenly thought that my experience of safeguarding in the NHS, my years of activism in response to the HIV and AIDS crisis, and my recent role as the chair of Fife Pride would help me bridge the gap between trans rights activists and women's groups. But in my bringing to the fore questions that hitherto would have been routine to any policy development, I was targeted and quite wrongly labelled, amongst many other things, a transphobe. And the reason is because I would not submit unquestioningly to gender ideology. And what I've witnessed has been horrific. People who call themselves straight allies or queer-identifying straight people have quite literally pushed gay men and lesbians out of our own movement. I can think of no clearer an example than Alexander Bramman, a gay man who was bullied out of Manchester Pride by a straight woman. In all the years I have been out, the worst homophobia I have experienced has been in the last 2 years, and much of it has happened in this place. And despite formally raising those concerns, it has not been taken seriously and was simply not addressed. Homophobia is back, and after all the years we spent battling down those barriers, it's back at the behest of Stonewall, and it's draped in a pride flag. Because if you remove sex, there can be no homosexual. Sex matters. It is a defining characteristic of who I am. Just saying that has seen me branded a hate figure, targeted for harassment, referred to by an honourable member in this place as a homophobic blank. You can fill it in yourself. Yeah. One of the most contentious issues centres on how the word woman is defined in law. Does it mean human adult female, or should it be broader than that and include natal males who decide to live as women and transition? Clarity on this carries significance for how we understand other protected characteristics within the Equalities Act, including same-sex attracted people, and whether a trans woman who is attracted to a natal female is indeed a lesbian. The ruling from the Inner House of the Court of Session last week was unequivocal. For the purposes of the protected characteristics of sex in the 2010 Equalities Act, a woman is a natal female of any age, a man is a natal male of any age, and the rights and protections of the trans community are rightly provided under the discrete protected characteristic for gender reassignment. But how this decision interacts with GRA reform in Scotland remains to be seen. But as sex and gender are now considered very separate terms, this may require further legal attention. These issues matter, and this legal clarity is of enormous significance. And I want to pay tribute to Marion, Trina, Susan and everyone at For Women Scotland for their courage, determination and success. I have demonstrated my resilience against outrageous behaviour over these past 2 years, and I want to pay tribute to the Honourable Member for Brigg and Gould, Chair of the Anti-Semitism APPG, and Danny Stone, Chief Executive of the Anti-Semitism Policy Trust, for their confidence, support and guidance. These impacts ripple well beyond me. Women are being targeted on social media and in the workplace for holding a view which is now an established point of law. They have been told that this view was invalid by the First Minister of Scotland. I hold a deep sadness that people I have worked closely with have used their influence as LGBT campaigners and politicians to bully, harass and silence women. What is now clear is that this is a breach of equalities legislation and it must cease. For all the years I marched, cared for sick friends and dying friends, raised awareness in the workplace, in schools and in my community, my greatest allies have always been women. My mum, my friend Lynn, my friend Fee, my friends Anne and Susan and many, many others. They stood by me through thick and thin, and I will not abandon them now. Now that we have legal clarity over the meaning of sex, we must find a way to tackle this matter and improve the lives of trans people and reform GRA. But as both Baroness Faulkner, the current chair, and Trevor Phillips, the founding chair of the HRC, have made clear in recent days, equalities is a matter of mutual respect, balance and compromise, and not something that can be dictated by loud, uncompromising voices. The era of no debate is firmly over. It's time to heal deep, deep wounds and focus on a policy that delivers meaningful improvements to the lives and safety of the trans population whilst respecting the rights of others. Thank you.